So covering key types in the production switcher. So let's cover what key types we have here in our Acuity switcher. So in my key or control area, we can select a keyer. So here we'll use key 1 to work with. There are 4 basic key types inside of a keyer. There is a self key, where this does a luma key or a luminance key on the source inside of the item. So let's go ahead and we'll put a still store in, and let's grab something with black in it that we can key out. So even though there's an alpha, currently we are going to be performing a self key. So here it's using the same video for video and alpha. So with a self key, what we are essentially doing is taking the clip and the gain. So when we take our clip all the way down, and we'll take our gain all the way down, clip is going to raise the amount of luminance that we are cutting off. So we're raising up from the bottom, and we're cutting out black in the image. Now, as soon as we hit right about here, 6.4 to 6.5, we have now clipped out all of super black and have started into the black range. And as you go higher, it'll start to take the darker colors because of luminance out of the key. So as you can see, to get just black out right at 6.5, gain is the slope or the softness of that clip edge. Now, because we want black, a nice, clean, simple key using 6.5%. So in this case, what we're doing is we are taking that luminance value out, and it is keying through it. So a luma key. Now, you could matte fill the key. So matte fill, allowing me to take a matte color and fill it in. This is very useful when what you basically have is a simple black on white element. So I was taking out the black and I had white text, but really I wanted to fill that white text in with a color. So here I've been able to go ahead and fill that in with that color. Obviously in this case it's a real graphic. We don't want to take that out. Other modifiers include key invert, in which case this is inverting the clip. So now we're maintaining the black and removing everything else from the image. So imagine you had white with black text and you wanted to maintain the black text. Now we're inverting it. You have the ability to apply masks. And so the mask is a region in which you are going to either key through or invert it and make it solid. So if it was inverted, only that section would be displayed from the key. So you can perform a box mask and adjust the box mask, or you can use pattern masking so that you're able to use shapes to perform your mask. And again, you can either mask out the middle, you can invert it, and you can also force all the way through to the video in a similar type manner. So that's your mask parameter. You can also apply borders, which the border will be tied to that alpha channel, and you can use borders, shadows, outlines, all the similar type features that have been around for forever. The other 2 modifiers that you have is the 2D DVE. So being able to apply the 2D DVE so that you can manipulate the video in 2-dimensional space. So this does not have rotation. Now if I wanted to apply rotation, then I need the optional 3D card, and I can use the 3D DVE button to enable the 3D DVE. So now this is using the 3D channel and allowing me to have my rotation as well. Now what's nice about this is if we switch back to 2D, it maintained all of the two-dimensional size and positioning attributes, so I don't have to resize this back down to the exact same size. One of the other key types is what's called an auto key. So when we look at an auto select key, now this is using the video and the alpha from the image. So here in the menu, we can see that the fill is coming from still store 1, while the alpha is coming from still store 3. Now if we try to find a different graphic for a better example, inside of our samples, we have something like the shaped key. So what this does for us is we can see that with a linear key, because of the alpha, if I press the Show Alpha button, we can see it in preview, we can see that there is a gradient. And so with this alpha channel, we're able to have a cookie cutter as to what video is removed. So where there is white, it will fill it in from the video channel or the fill channel 100%. And where you have the grays, that is the transparency, all the way to black. And black is fully transparent. Now, even with a self key, an auto key can also perform shaped keying. Now, a shaped key or an additive key, which we can enable in the menu, this is where we are taking the video and we are applying it on top of itself. So it takes that and it reapplies the video again from the key cut. Now, to have a proper shaped key, this does require that in that alpha channel, you have black. Where you see black, in your video channel also needs to be black. So what we mean by that is you'll notice here, the area that is to be transparent will also have black because it's going to additive itself, so add itself back on top. And if those two areas do not share black in the same region, then those colors will come back through. So that is why when you look at the bar, it's an unshaped bar. And so if we take that bar, because the video on the right of the bar does not fade out to black like it does on the alpha. So that is why when we look at that video, over top, you'll notice that that green on the right-hand side of the bar is not keying correctly. When you turn additive off, that is the slope in which it falls out because it's not doing an additive key. When it adds itself back in, you have that area that is not keying properly. Okay. With auto select, all of the other modifiers like matte fill or key invert or your masks all apply. You can also apply that same border channel card. So if you want to add your own border, so you can add, say, a shadow, and you want to be able to manipulate said shadow so that you can adjust the shadow, place the shadow where you want in 3D space, right? So that's coming from your border card. You can also turn on the 2D DVE so that you can fly that graphic around. And of course, the 3D DVE if you have that installed for performing 3D elements and effects to this graphic. All right, so moving on to our next key type is the preset pattern key. So the preset pattern key type, when you enable the preset pattern key, you'll notice that by default, it automatically turns on the DVE channels. So if I don't have 3D installed, it'll turn on 2D, and if I didn't previously have 3D enabled, it will enable 2D on the fly as well, so as seen in that example. So the preset pattern key automatically turns on our DVE because the majority of the use case is to fly and position your source subject. Now, if you are looking to do a proper pattern key, then what you can do is just toggle off the DVE and then go ahead and pick your pattern and be able to modify that pattern. Shift the pattern to where you want it, and away you go. Now, you could also apply DVE, and if what you were trying to do was a pattern key with the DVE, then you could use a mask to perform that and then fly it around. It would achieve the exact same item. So in that case, we would be flying it, and then we would turn on our mask. And so we would want to do, for example, a self key. Apply our mask, and in this case, invert on, pattern mask, take our circle. We want to position our circle around our subject, and now we go ahead and we can position that circle and 2D DVE anywhere we want. So looking at a pattern key, you can apply those patterns simply by doing that. So since most of the time we're implementing this as a means to do our box effects, we automatically, when selecting it, will turn on that 2D DVE. The other reason for using the pattern key for doing box effects is it frees up an extra channel. Your chroma key, your linear, and your luma channels all require 2 channels of DVE to fly it. In the case of 3D, the 3D channel has a dedicated alpha. With the 2D channels, there are 16 of them in the ME, so every keyer has access to 2 of them anyway. So one of the other features of the pattern key is the ability to leverage the channel management function. So when we bring up the channel management menu, we can enable both channels here in the menu. So by turning on both channels, we now have 2 different channels of DVE for that keyer. And so now we can toggle between the 2 channels. With those 2 boxes, it takes place inside of a single keyer using less resources. This also allows you to do multiple boxes inside of fewer keys, allowing a 16 box to be performed in 8 keyers. So this is the benefit of using the pattern key type when flying boxes. If doing a 2-box effect is what you're looking for, use the pattern key. And the same thing applies to the 3D DVE. If what I'm looking to do is apply 3D DVE, I can do this inside of a single keyer, and that still is only using 1 channel of 3D DVE because it's using the alpha bus to the DVE for that second channel. So it allows us to stick in a 2-box inside of a single channel of 3D. And if I wanted a 4-box, that 2-channel card can be done because I can just use a second keyer of 3D DVE. So now inside of 2 keys, we have 4 boxes flying. Our final key type is the chroma key type. So the chroma key type is a keyer that, similar to the way a luminance key takes a luminance value out of the image, a chroma keyer will take a chrominance value. So when we look at server 3 and we see the chroma key, so it's established as we selected it, what we're wanting to do is pick the dominant color. So when I go to my color pick menu, I have 2 keyer modes. A basic chroma key mode is referring to a basic set or a basic method of keying. Whereas the advanced chroma key is designed around a set that is targeting shadows, transparencies, glass, smoke, where we're intentionally lighting that set like we see here so that he will cast a shadow, and that shadow will be seen, as you can see. So what we'll do is we'll put that over top of still 2 like he was in a weather map. And what you'll see is that now we pick our dominant color. So the dominant color we're trying to remove is obviously green. Now we're going to press the initialize key button. And what you saw there is our patented algorithm running that looks at every single pixel and calculates the greens that should be removed, the greens that should be maintained for shadows, as you can see in his arm there. It's pitching a shadow, which is maintained, as well as the greens that would be more of a transparency, like the tint that's taken place through, say, glass or water. So this is the Ultrachrome chroma keyer, and there are 2 of these built into all the MEs, and they can float to any of the keyers, similar to the way the DVEs float. So now the quality of the chroma key, as you can see, is very simple to do. You just select it, and away you go. So if we look at a different source, even though she's also over green, you'll notice that it's off. It's wrong, and that's because the greens are slightly different. Now, I don't have to tweak anything or change anything. I can just initialize that key again, and you'll notice it takes care of all of that for me automatically. So it's very easy to use, very simple to use, and all you have to do is maintain those. Now, if you want to tweak it, there are shadows, translucency settings, the transition area settings, background settings, foreground, spill suppress, edge softness. There's a large range of stuff that you can modify. Now, when modifying those, there are 2 channels that you can look at to help with modifying. So if I enable the alpha, you'll see that what we see in preview is the alpha that the keyer is generating. So this is the actual processed alpha. So as I change things, I will see modifications in the alpha channel. Now, because there are so many settings, sometimes it's hard to know exactly what is the right piece to modify. So you can also use the color map. And with the color map, now you get a legend. So you know that the red area is the solid background and shadow. So that makes it very easy to know if I want to manipulate that area, if there's some stuff in the red that doesn't look right where the background's supposed to be, I can go to background and tweak the background. If I was to see any greens, that would be the translucency region. So I could go to the translucent and transparency sections and adjust those. You'll also note that blue is for spill suppression. So I can see where the spill suppress is currently being applied. And if I go in and I start altering that spill suppression and those settings, you can see where it's being applied and how it is adjusting the skin tone. Here we're over adjusting, so obviously it's making it into kind of a pink color, but you can see how it's applied to try to prevent the kickback of green. And then finally, gray is the transition area. So that's the edges and the sides where it transitions from foreground to background. So if you were to go into the transition area, you can tweak that as well as the edge. So the chroma key setting, again, very easy to use. You can also apply DVE to it. And here you can see when we flew it back like that there is an outer edge that this video contained because it wasn't properly keyed in those elements. So obviously, this is where a mask would come in handy, and we could go ahead and use the mask. Or we could have used crop in the DV to crop out this spillover region. One other option could have been to also, under edge softness, have changed our edge softness as well. So those are your 4 basic key types with the added parameters that can be applied to all of them. These key types can be used in any of the keyers so that you can layer all these keys over top of different backgrounds, giving you the ability to create your effects. And of course, all those elements will store with the memory system when we cover memory system and attributes in the next topic. Thank you for watching the topic on keyers, and we look forward to seeing you in the next topic.